Welcome to Kenpo University. My name's Al Babinick. I'm your instructor. And today we're talking about the angle of incidence. The definition is striking a target square so there is no dissipation of power or deflection. All right, this is usually how you want to hit people. All right, so if my body is perfectly square to you, and you kick me, punch me, hit me, whatever, right in the middle, okay, with a front kick, let's say. So if you're doing a front kick, if your strike is coming directly at me and you hit, then I'm going to go flying backwards, right? That is an angle of incidence. So when we say hitting square, I prefer the term that you're hitting perpendicular, okay? Perfectly perpendicular. So if the target's like this, I'm hitting perfectly against it. So it's not this way, because that'll bounce down. That's an angle of deflection. It's not this way, and it's not this way or this way. It's perfectly, you're hitting, that's why they say square, but I like to say you're hitting perpendicular to the target. So if my body was turned slightly like this, and you threw, let's say you were kicking right here. If my body was turned, now you can see that there's an angle to that. So if you did a front kick and you hit me here, you'll get me, but your kick's going to deflect off. And it's not necessarily a bad thing, but you will lose power because you're not hitting straight into the guy. You're going to hit and bounce off, right? So that's an angle of deflection. So we're not going to lose any power when we do it. So when you're hitting perfectly perpendicular to whatever's coming at you, okay? So, because I use it, I think about these for blocks and strikes, even though it has strike in the definition, all right? If a kick's coming straight at me and I block it straight down and I try to move it that way, I'm hitting perfectly perpendicular or square to the kick. So that's going to move it. Where if I hit back like this, then it's going to be an angle of deflection, and the kick's going to keep going this way, and he's probably still facing me, okay? But an example for angle of incidence, a good one is, and I'm using this one because a lot of people mess it up, all right? So I'm using this one on purpose because a lot of people don't do it. When you're doing evading the storm, so evading the storm's out of purple, it's against an overhead club coming down on you. So we step up. Now there's a couple of ways to do it. Book written, it's step up to the corner. Mr. Planis likes us doing a rear twist version. I'm just going to do the book version for now, okay? So standing here, overhead club's coming at me. Inward, extended outward block, and I'm trying to grab the club. I throw a roundhouse kick to the groin, and then I land, and I want to pull and do a punch. And this is one motion. This punch wants to be, when you're hitting in down to these ribs, you want to hit square to the ribs. You don't want to bounce it this way, or slide up or slide down. You have to throw that punch so it's perfectly square to those ribs. Sometimes you might have to turn it. It depends how the guy turned when you pulled his arm. So you have to look. You have to read what you're doing, okay? But you don't want to just go like this and bounce down off his ribs. So whatever angle his ribs are on, whatever this angle is, you want to hit square to that or perfectly perpendicular to the ribs. I just see a lot of people when they do this technique, they get all excited when they get there and they just throw a punch and it's not hitting square. It's not an angle of incidence. So when you're doing this, I always just think, if I could drive the guy into the ground right there, I want to do it, okay? I don't want to play. So, but that's a good example of where you need an angle of incidence. You do not want an angle of deflection, and I know a lot of people mess that up. So see what you're doing and see if you're hitting square on that. There's a lot of body shots that we do like that where the body's turned, okay? Attacking mace is one of them, where people hit with an angle of deflection instead of an angle of incidence. But there's a lot of body shots in the system where you're going to see you might not be hitting perfectly square, and you're going to lose power because of it. Because as soon as you deflect off, you're deflecting some of your power. All right. I would do the physics explanation, but nobody likes physics explanations. So we'll leave it at that. So an angle of incidence is striking each of your targets square so there's no dissipation of power or deflection. Thank you for watching this video production from Kenpo University.